This is kind of a weird way to start my carving videos, but somebody wanted to see where I carve. So this is my Stanley workmate bench, right? And then over here I've got the 2x4 that's tacked in, and then I have this piece that is underneath it, and that piece has like a little hook to it. And then I have all of these rags, and there's one little piece of trim right in here that I've tacked to that. And each one of these things, you know, like right here, I carve against this, right? You've seen me do that, carving against this. And then I've got that little piece right here, I carve against that. But you know, there's nothing really to it. It's so simple. I've got this little DC 720 portable dust collector. I bought this at Lowe's. It doesn't quite fit, but it does the trick. It collects all the dust. And then on top of it, I've got all my carving tools. I've got my little speaker over here that I listen to. Yeah, pretty simple stuff here, folks. But what I wanted to show you was I carved this little guy yesterday. So this Santa is done out of white cedar. It accentuates the whole theme of 12 Days of Christmas. So I've got a goose here, and I haven't painted him out because I've got so many to paint. I don't know when I'm going to get to him. Eventually, yes, I will get to him, and I'll show you guys what he looks like when I get him painted. But it says 6 geese a-laying, and that's going to be a gold ribbon that kind of wraps around. And he's going to have a little red vest on. The goose will. I think it'll turn out pretty good. And yes, these are eggs. They're slightly large. I realize that. So I've got this nice piece of white cedar here. I call it nice because it doesn't have many knots. Look at that. Kind of lucked out with this. Wow. You don't see this very often. Nice piece of white cedar. 8.5 inches. So continuing on that theme of the 12 Days of Christmas, I want to do something with 3 French hens. I don't know quite how it's going to turn out, but I'm going to try to make this a little bit of a quicker video, because sometimes I think I bog you guys down with all the detail that I get into here, you know, little bits and bobs and carving and all that. So I'm going to try to speed this one up a little bit, but again, it's going to be on the theme of the 12 Days of Christmas. And we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, for those of you that are wondering what my humble carving setup looks like here, I'm literally in a corner. Literally sitting here carving in a corner. I don't mind it. I love it. I love it. It's peace, it's quiet, and that's all I ask for at my age, folks. Okay, so here we go. 12 Days of Christmas, 3 French hens. Okay, folks, so you know how this begins. I got to get out the Automach HCT 30, and I got to blow out some of this wood. So here's the shoulder mark, and I'm just going to kind of carve into here, flip it, carve into there, and then once I get that head about where I want it in terms of width, then I'm going to shave off the front. Okay, that makes pretty quick work of that. So, you know, from this point, I'm going to probably do a little bit more finer kind of cleaning up with this, clean them up a little bit. Then I'm going to start sketching it in and see what we're going to do with the 3 French hens, where they're going to be, where the banner is going to be. This is what I've got so far on this Santa. I've done a little bit of roughing out, and I've got his hat right up in here. I've got the face penciled in, and going along with this 12 Days of Christmas, the 3 French hens theme, I've got the French hen right here that he's going to be holding. You can see his mittens. I'm going to have the sort of banner, if you will. It's going to come over his arm right here. It's going to come down, and it's going to have something like 3 French hens. And then you're going to have 2 hens down here. And I might do some other embellishment back here. I haven't decided if I'm going to fill this up. But that's kind of what he's looking at. So I'm going to do the face first. I'm going to carve out around here in the back, just to give you an idea. He's going to have the tassel coming down. So I'm going to start just doing a little bit more removal. But on the other sand, I forgot to tell you that I did have a big crack here. This is white cedar. And because it's got these rings, you're going to get the cracks. So I did fill it with the Gorilla Glue, and then I used the Gorilla wood filler and just lightly sanded that. So off we go. Okay, so this is a little bit further along. I've removed a little bit of material. Now I'm going to start carving the eyes and the face. But just a quick refresher on some of, you know, how I do the sharpening. So you can see here, this is basically an old belt that I've flipped upside down. These are kind of in the way, but anyway. So I flipped the belt upside down. I use this rouge that seems to last forever. But you can see there's some slick spots on there. See that? So what I do is I just take this wire brush and I go over this 5-gallon pail and I just kind of brush it like this in a circle. Kind of bump the camera. Then I just come back. This little knife gets a lot of use. And I just go like this. Kind of roll it from one side to the other. Like this, as I'm pulling it. And you'd be surprised how sharp you can get a chisel just by doing this. About 10 times. Flip it around. Nice and sharp. Okay, this is where the sand is right now. So I've kind of left this side undone just to show you what I'm doing over here. But the hair is going to go something like that, merge with the beard. We're going to have the banner coming over like this. I've kind of hacked out a little bit of room for the French hen. So on this side, what I'm going to do is make it look like this side, obviously, and have the beard coming in here like this, something like that. And then I'll start working on the next features that are going to be standing out the most. So that would be the mittens and the hen, and kind of making all this merge right up into this area. So coming along pretty good. So I kind of thought maybe I should show people a little bit of how I'm digging this out over here. So I'm going to use this number 3 by 5/8, and it's basically like this. Carefully getting in there. Takes kind of a lot of control. You're pushing but holding back at the same time. Just encouraging the wood to come out. So you can see I'll need a pencil line right in this area. Okay, pencil this in, establish that arm in here, about like this, and then at some point I'm going to put notches in here, but just going to keep working it through. Okay, so I have to keep reminding myself to film what I'm doing here, but I've carved out the area a little bit in here. Always a little bit more to do. This is still just kind of roughed out. The one French hen is going to be here, the banner, and I've got some of the wood left down here for the 2 French hens. So up here I'm just kind of working on these mittens in this area. kind of cleaning this up. And you know, this banner, of course, it's going to find its level pretty much towards the end when I get the chickens done and all that. I want it to look like it's flowing, and I've got to put some bends into it, kind of like I did over here and all this kind of stuff. So I want it a little bit high so I can kind of work with it like this. But I'm just going to keep cleaning this up, and then I think I'll probably start on this hen up here and work on these other ones down here. Okay, so now's a good time to try to get some of this stuff off over here. So I've got my trusty Automach. Well, I just can't tell you folks how much I love this Automach, just because it gets all this stuff out of the way. I mean, it just makes it so quick, and it saves that old man wrist thing. So, okay, knock some of that out. Now I'm just going to go through and hit some of the French hens and keep working on this piece by piece. Okay, so I've got the hens carved out. And I think the rule of thumb is that if you can kind of tell that it looks like a hen at this small of a scale and fidgety carving like it is, I think that once it's painted up, it'll look pretty good. So the next step is to work on this banner here. And again, I want to incorporate some of the twists and turns and all this kind of stuff that's going on, you know, give it a sense of motion. So that will be the next thing that I'm going to start on here. The back turned out really nice. Only one knot in this piece of white cedar. If you can find a foot of white cedar with only one knot, you've done pretty darn good, folks. So just going to keep working at it. I think it's going to turn out pretty nice, and I'll show you what he looks like in just a second. Okay, he's coming along pretty good. I've got this ribbon carved out. Did a little bit of undercutting in here just to give it a little sort of depth, I guess you would say, right in these areas. And the next step is going to be detailing the beard. I've already done the cap here. Might put a cape on him too. I've got to think about what kind of cape. You might get a cape too, just to kind of give him that extra touch. But the next thing is, if I decide on the cape, which I probably will, then the next thing is going to be doing 3 French hens and carving that out so that I can later paint this gold and then go back and fill in the lettering with black. So just when I got to do the back of the tassel here, but all in all, pretty good, coming out okay. Okay, so I think I've wrapped this project up. I didn't have a lot of room in here to write out 3, but I managed to get that in there. Then I've got French hens down here, and I've kind of put the dots where the eyes are going to be. So these two are going to be looking straight ahead, and this one's going to be kind of looking that way, I guess. Yeah, he turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the little Santa. And I kind of like doing the banners. It adds another dimension. You don't see a lot of people doing the banners. They are kind of a difficult thing to do, and I used I think this is a 2mm V-gouge, if you can imagine that, 2 millimeters, and that's what I used to get in here. And as always, you know, this wood, white cedar, can be a little sort of punky, so if you're going in a direction you feel it tearing, you know, just flip it around, and 9 times out of 10, that'll do the trick. You know, if it looks like it's gouging up a lot of wood, just kind of flip direction. But yeah, okay, so that is a fun little project to do. Nice way to spend an afternoon that was otherwise pretty cloudy and not much else to do. You can always count on a little wood carving, and you know, to me, it's pretty darn cheap therapy, to be honest. thanks for joining me here, folks. And yes, I will be painting these. These guys are, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9 Santas staring at me, just waiting to get painted. So I guess that'll be what I'm going to be up to next year, probably next week. Take care and thanks for watching.